Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. This is a series of spotlights on remarkable business intermediaries from across the country. And joining me on this segment is Willard Michelin. He's the founder of Kismet Business Brokers. Willard, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Willard, tell us a little bit about your work and specifically, who are the types of clients that you specialize in helping?
Okay, so I work with two different groups of clients. First is the clients that want to sell their business. So I list and market the business. I've been doing that since 1992. The other group is the people that want to buy a business and they need someone to analyze the businesses for them and tell them what they don't know and what the listing broker is not telling them, and if they have a buyer's broker, the buyer's broker isn't telling them. So I do that as a CPA, and I charge a fee for that rather than take a commission when I'm helping the buyer, so that I'm totally objective.
Right on. Willard, tell us a little bit about potential sellers, people wanting to sell their businesses. They've been at it a long time, always thinking growth, growth, growth. Have they ever been thinking about selling? Like, how prepared are they?
Prepared? They're not prepared. So that's one of the things we have to do is tell them what to do, or I rework their books so that they're readable by a buyer and totally explain exactly what the company's doing, because your buyer can't look at the tax return and go from that alone.
How easy do business owners think it is to sell a business? Like what's in their mind already? Are there any myths or misconceptions that they hold that may sabotage them?
They think that based on some rule of thumb they've heard from their friends that they've got a value for the business. And sometimes they're spot on and sometimes they're totally crazy. But if they get everything explained and laid out for them, they begin to understand it. And I operate on a very simple theory. My father taught this to me 50 years ago, is you start at a price, any price, and then you drop the price until eventually the market starts getting really interested, and then you stop. And then you know where the market value is because you got lots of buyers at that price.
So is today a good time to buy or sell a business? I mean, we've got a large group of folks retiring and wanting to sell their businesses, but then you also have the great resignation where people are wanting to buy businesses and go off on their own. What's this been like? Have you noticed? Is it a good time?
Well, during COVID, it dried up in the beginning, but then people started to get really interested again. And the market is very, very hot, both buyers and sellers. And there are a lot of sellers and there are a lot of buyers. The trick is to get the two mated up together. But it's tough. It's tough because sellers have prices in their mind. And if they really have a good business, they really don't want to part with it. But maybe because of their age or family situations, they need to. But it is a good time to sell a business. Prices are really good. And I'm amazed that the buyers are out there very aggressively. And the buyers are complaining really only about one thing, and they're not complaining about the price. They're complaining about proper and full disclosure by the seller of what the business is doing. And when they ask questions, they want to get answers. And that's their biggest number one complaint to me, is that the business isn't as first represented in the marketplace or on the web or wherever they found it. And the numbers that are there don't represent what the numbers are when they get the financials and the tax returns. So the brokers put them on the market, put prices down, and they don't match up when they produce the products, the results, and the financial reports.
So speaking of the sellers, how far in advance should they start planning and preparing to sell their businesses? As you mentioned, a lot of things that may be missing. What are those things?
They should start a couple of years. And one of the things they should look at is who can replace them. And they should be bringing up their company line somebody that has the ability to replace the president's job as well as can be done or expected. And they should organize their books so that they're clear, and their add backs should be easy to see. And add backs are those things that may be deductible for income tax purposes, but are not, but a buyer is discretionary. He can choose to spend the money or not spend the money. Like you can buy medical insurance is deductible, auto expense for the owner's cars are deductible, things like that. But a couple of years is best. But I had one where they had too many things that were improper. They had cash payroll, they had cash sales. This is not legal, and the buyers are turned off. So I worked with them to get everything on the books. The payroll's all set up properly. Everybody's paid properly by the laws. And then the buyers are interested because they don't think they're walking into a legal headache.
When you start working with these sellers, you mentioned a few big mistakes and things that people are missing. Are there anything other big common mistakes or pitfalls that you see people fall into?
Big pitfalls they fall into.
Pitfalls or mistakes they're making that could sabotage their sale?
Well, number one, when they try to withhold information from the buyer, that'll kill the deal because the buyer will feel it eventually. If not in the beginning, they begin to get uncomfortable that it's not represented. Also, the rules of things you can add back to the profit that have been expensed, they're defined and they're in textbooks. And they need to understand what those are and what's a legitimate add back and what's not a legitimate add back, and follow those rules so they don't have a problem with the buyer saying you're trying to add back something that doesn't exist. Also, one of the things is you can't add anything back you haven't deducted. And sometimes they try to add back things that are on the balance sheet that have nothing to do with profit and loss because they don't understand the rules of seller discretionary income and add backs.
Willard, what inspired you to become a business intermediary? Like, take us back a little bit and tell us, how did you get started?
Well, I was doing real estate in the 70s and the 80s, and I was experiencing this up and down of the real estate market. And in 92, I was at the bottom of a crash again. And I said, I don't want to go through this anymore. And I got the crazy idea to switch to businesses instead of real estate. And I figured because of my accounting background, it would be a piece of cake for me. And that really helped. Having an accounting background is just unbelievably helpful. But what I found was that when the real estate market crashed, the business brokerage business crashed. But you get through it. I mean, I've sold, I don't know, over hundreds of body shops, for example. I started in automotive and I started in body shops. So I became an expert in body shops. But there were so many of the very, very small body shops where even though I got them sold, I wasn't making any money because the commissions were so small because the body shops were so small. So that's not a problem for the seller. That's a problem for the brokers, that they want businesses that are of a decent size that you can earn a decent commission so you make a living. Because it's the same work to sell a $100,000 business as $1 million business. But I continued to do this. And then about 10 years ago, I said, the buyers are not being properly represented. And that's when I started putting a lot of attention on marketing for buyers to hire me to analyze the business with them. And I'm a member of CAB, which is the California Association of Business Brokers, and the IBBA, which is the International Business Brokers Association. And I've been trying to bring ethics in with the brokers, because the brokers are the ones that communicate all the information from the seller to the buyer. And that's been my attempt, is to educate buyers and bring a high level of ethics into the industry so we don't have fraud. And it's the fraud and the fear of fraud that scares buyers away from buying. And there would be so many more transactions if everybody was more upfront and laid everything out. Be many more transactions, many more happy people, because people want to get out of corporate America. They want to own their own business. And now, with everybody working from home, or a lot of people working from home, that's become a new dynamic, and internet marketing, and we're so used to seeing brick and mortar, which are things that are in buildings, but the malls, for example, are emptying out, and everything's being done online and shipping. And businesses related to trucking industries are growing like crazy. And even for real estate, land suitable for trucks and warehouses is going up in value, and they figure it's another 5 years before the need will be covered. So I'm working on a big deal now where I'm selling a truck repair company. And that's $1 million, and the land's $5.5 million. And the buyers want to buy that land because they want to be locked into the future appreciation.
Wow, that's terrific. And Willard, it really goes to show that where there's change, there's opportunity, and there's been nothing but change in the last couple of years over COVID, that's for sure. So,
Right.
Willard, for folks listening today who are considering selling their business, or somebody that's looking to buy a business and would like some guidance, and if they'd love to speak with you, how do they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
Okay, so my phone number is 805-428-2063. That's 805-428-2063. And my email is Kismet, KISMETREI @earthlink.net. And my website is evaluateabusiness.com.
Terrific. Willard, thank you so much for stopping by and sharing with my audience today. I really appreciate it, and I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Thank you very much, Mark.
That was Willard Michelin. He's the founder of Kismet Business Brokers, and this segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done to educate consumers, grow their practices, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.